Namaste. So tonight I'm going to read Book 9, Chapter 13, on the antidote of Ganga in the Maha Devi Bhagavatam. Vakratu Namaha Kaya Koti Suryasam. Hari Om. Hari Om Tat Sat. Narada said, O Lord of the Devas, kindly say, in what loka did Ganga go after 5,000 years of the Kali Yuga? Narayana said, the Bhagirath Ganga came down to Bharata under the curse of Bharati, and when the term expired, she went back, by the will of God, to the region of Vaikunta. Also at the end of the period of their curses, Bharati and Lakshmi too left Bharata and repaired to Narayana. Ganga, Lakshmi and Saraswati, these three, and Tulasi, all these four are so very dear to Sri Hari. Narada said, how did Ganga appear from the lotus feet of Vishnu? Why did Brahma put her in his Kamandalu? I have heard that Ganga is the wife of Shiva. How then she came to be the wife of Narayana? Kindly describe all these in detail to me. Narayana said, O Muni, in ancient times in the region of Goloka, Ganga assumed the liquid appearance. She was born of the bodies of Radha and Krishna. So she is of the nature of both of them and their parts. Ganga is the presiding deity of water. She is unequaled in her beauty in this world. She is full of youth and adorned with all ornaments. Her face was like the autumnal midday. Lotus and sweet smile was always raining on her lips. Her form was very beautiful. Her color was as bright as melted gold, and she looked brilliant like the autumnal's moon. Eyes and mind get cool and become pleasant at her beauty and radiance. She was of purely Suddha Sattva. Her loins were bulky and hard, and she was covered with excellent clothings all over her body. Her breasts were plump and prominent. They were raised hard and nicely round. Her eyes very fascinating, always casting sidelong glances. Her braids of hair situated a little oblique, and the garland of malati flowers over it made her look extremely handsome. The sandal paste dot and the vermilion dot was seen on her forehead. On her cheeks the leaves of musk were drawn, and her lips were red like bhanduka flowers, and they looked enchanting. Her rows of teeth looked like rows of ripe pomegranates. The ends of her cloth, not inflammable by fire, worn in front in a knot round the waist. She sat by the side of Krishna, full of amorous desires and abashed. She covered her face with the end of her cloth and was seeing, with a steadfast gaze, the face of the Lord, and she was drinking the nectar of his face with great gladness. Her lotus face bloomed and became gladdened at the expectation of a first amorous embrace. She fainted on seeing the form of her Lord, and a thrill of joy passed all over her body. In the meanwhile, Radhika came up there. Radha was attended by 30 kotis of gopis. She looked brilliant like tens of millions of moons. Seeing Ganga by the side of Sri Krishna, her face and eyes became reddened with anger like a red lotus. Her color was yellow like champaka, and her gait was like a maddened elephant. She was adorned with various invaluable ornaments made of jewels. Her pairing of clothings were tied round her waist. They were decked with invaluable jewels and not inflammable by fire, fireproof. The arghya offered by Shri Krishna was on her lotus feet of the color of a flowering shrub, hibiscus mutabilis, and she was going slowly, step by step. The rishi began to fan her with white chamaras. No sooner she, descending from the excellent aeroplane, decked with jewels, began to walk. Below the point where the parting of the hairs on the head is done, there was the dot of sindura on her forehead. It looked brilliant like a bright lamp flame. On both sides of this sindura bindu, the dot of musk and the dot of sandal paste were seen. When she began to quiver with anger, her braid with parijata garland round it began to tremble also. Her lips adorned with beautiful colors began to quiver also. She took her seat angrily on a jeweled throne by the side of Shri Krishna. Her attendants took their seats in their allotted positions. Seeing Radha, Shri Krishna got up at once from his seat with reverence and addressed her, smiling, and began to converse with her in sweet words. The gopis, very much afraid and with their heads bent low, began to chant hymns to her with devotion. Shri Krishna also began to praise her with stotras. At this moment, Ganga Devi got up and praised her with various hymns and asked her welfare with fear and with humble words. Out of fear, her throat, lips, and palate were parched up. She took refuge humbly at Shri Krishna's feet. Shri Krishna then took Ganga Devi on his breast when she became calm and quiet. At this interval, Sureshwari Ganga looked at Radha seated on a throne, lovely and sweet, as if she was burning with Brahma fire. Since the beginning of creation, she is the sole lady of innumerable Brahmas, and she is eternal. At the first sight, she looked young, as if of 12 years old. Nowhere in any universe can be seen a lady so beautiful and so qualified. She was peaceful, calm, and quiet, lovely, infinite, and having no beginning, no end. She was auspicious, well endowed with all auspicious signs, prosperous, and having the good fortune of having a best husband. She was the foremost jewel amongst the ladies and appeared as if all the beauties were concentrated in her. Radha is the left half of Shri Krishna's body, whether in age or in strength or in beauty. She was in every way perfectly equal to Shri Krishna. Lakshmi and the Lord of Lakshmi both worship Radha. The excellent brilliance of Shri Krishna was overpowered by the beauty of Radha. Taking her seat on the throne, she began to chew petals offered by her attendants, Shaktis. She is the mother of all the worlds, but no one is her mother. She is fortunate, respected, and proud. She is the ruling lady of Shri Krishna's life and soul, and ever dear to him than his prana, vital breath. O Devarishi, Ganga, the governess of the Devas, looked at her over and over again with a steadfast gaze, but her eyes and mind were not at all satiated. At this moment, Radha addressed smilingly to Shri Krishna, the Lord of the world, humbly and in sweet words, O my Lord, who is that lady sitting by thy side, looking askance, eager, and with a smiling countenance? She is enchanted with thy beauteous form and fainting away. Her whole body is excited with rapturous joy. Hiding her face with cloth, she is frequently looking at thee. Thou also dost look on her smilingly and with desires. What are all these? Even during my presence in this Goloka, all these bad practices are being rampant. It is thou that art doing all these bad things. often and often. We are female sex. What shall we do? We are naturally of a very pleasing temper, simple. I bore and forgave all these out of our love. O licentious one, take thy beloved and go away quickly from this Goloka, otherwise these things will not bid fair to thee. Firstly, one day I saw thee united with Vairaja Gopi in Chandana, sandalwood forest. What to do? At the request of the Shaktis, the Sakis. I did forgive thee then, hearing my footsteps, thou didst fly away. Viraja, out of shame, quitted her body and assumed the form of a river. That is 1,000,000 yojanas wide and 4 times as long. Even to this day that Viraja is existing, testifying to the glory near Puri, Jagannatha. When I went back to my home, thou didst go to Viraja again and cried aloud, O Viraja, O Viraja. Hearing your cry, Viraja, the Siddha Yogini, arose from the waters out of her yogic power. And when she showed thee her divine appearance, decked with ornaments, thou didst draw her to thy side and cast thy seed in her. It is owing to the casting of that seed in the womb of Viraja that the 7 oceans have come into existence. Secondly, one day I saw thee in actual intercourse with the gopi named Shobha. Hearing my footsteps, thou fleddest away that day also. Out of shame, Shobha quitted her body and departed to the sphere of moon, Chandramandal. The cooling effect of the moon is due to this Shobha. When Shobha was thus distressed, thou didst divide her and put some parts to gems and jewels, part to gold, partly to excellent pearls and gems, partly on the face of women, partially to the bodies of kings, partially to the leaves of trees, partially to flowers, partially to ripe fruits, partially to corns, partially to palaces and temples, partially to purified materials, partially to young and tender shoots and foliage, and partially to milk. Thirdly, I saw thee united with Prabha Gopi in Brindavan. Thou fleddest away, hearing my footsteps. Out of shame, Prabha quitted her body and departed to the solar atmosphere. This Prabha lustre is fierce luminosity of the solar atmosphere. Out of the pangs of separation thou criedest and didst divide Prabha and didst put some parts in fire, partially amidst the yakshas, partially into lions among men, partially amongst the devas, partially in Vaishnavas, partly in serpents, partially in brahmanas, partially in munis, partly in ascetics, and partially in fortunate and prosperous ladies. Thou hadst the weep, then after thou hadst thus divided Prabha for her separation. And fourthly, I saw thee in love union with the gopi Santi in the Rasa Mandalam. On the coming of the spring season, one day thou with garlands of flowers on thy neck and with thy body besmeared with sandal paste and decked with ornaments, was sleeping on a bed of flowers with Santi Gopi, decked with gems, in a temple made of gems and pearls and illuminated by a lamp of jewels, and thou wast chewing the betel given by thy beloved. Hearing my sound, thou fleddest away. Santi Gopi too, out of fear and shame, quitted her body and disappeared in thee. Therefore, Shanti is reckoned as one of the noblest qualities. Out of the pain of separation, thou didst divide the body of Shanti and distributed partially to forests, partially to Brahma, partially to me, partially to Suddha Sattva Lakshmi, partially to thy mantra worshippers, partially to my mantra worshippers, partially to the ascetics, partially to dharma, and partly to the religious persons. Fifthly, dost thou remember that one day anointing all over thy body, fully with the sandal paste and good scent, and with garlands on thy neck, well dressed, decked with jewels, thou wast sleeping with kshama, forgiveness, gopi, in ease and happiness on a nice bedding, interspersed with flowers, and well scented. Thou wert so much overpowered by sleep after fresh intercourse that when I went and disturbed, then thou too didst get up from the sweet sleep. I took away thy yellow robes, the beautiful Murali flute, garlands made of forest flowers, kaustumba gems, and invaluable earrings of pearls and gems. I give it back to thee at the earnest request of the Sakis. Thy body turned black with sin and dire shame. Kshama then quitted her body out of shame and went down to the earth. Therefore Kshama turned out to be the repository of best qualities. Out of affection to her, thou didst divide her body and distributed them partially to Vishnu, partially to the Vaishnavas, partially to Dharma, partially to the religious persons, partially to weak persons, partially to ascetics, partially to the devas, and partially to the pandits, literally persons. O Lord, thus I have described thy qualities as far as I know. What more dost thou want to hear? Thou hast many more qualities, but I am not aware of them. Having thus spoken, the red lotus-eyed Radha began to rebuke Ganga sitting by the side of Shri Krishna with her head bent low out of shame. At this time, Ganga, who was Siddha Yogini, came to know all the mysteries and instantly disappeared from the assembly in her own water form. The Siddha Yogini Radha came to know also by her yogic power the secrets of Ganga, and became ready to drink the whole water in one sip. Ganga, knowing this intention of Radha, by her yogic power, took refuge of Krishna and entered into his feet. Then Radha began to look out for Ganga everywhere. First, she searched in Goloka, then Vaikuntha, then Brahmaloka. Then she searched all the lokas one by one, but nowhere did she find Ganga. All the places in Goloka became void of water. All turned out dried mud, and all the aquatic animals died and fell to the ground. And Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Ananta, Dharma, Indra, Moon, Sun, Manus, Munis, Siddhas, ascetics, all became very thirsty, and their throats became parched. Then they went to Goloka and bowed down with devotion to Shri Krishna, who was the Lord of all, beyond Prakriti, the supreme worthy to be worshipped, the bestower of boons, the best and the cause of boons, who is the Lord of Gopas and Gopis, who is formless, without any desire, unattached, without refuge, attributeless, without any enthusiasm, changeless and unstained, who is all will and who assumes forms to show favor to his devotees, who is Sattva, the Lord of truth, the witness of eternal Purusa, and who is the highest, the supreme Lord, the best and excellent, the highest self, and the supreme God. They began to hymn him. All were filled with intense feelings with devotion. Tears of love were flowing from their eyes, and the bodies of all were filled with ecstasy, the hairs standing in ends. He was Parabrahma. His substance was made of transcendental light, who is the cause of all causes, who was seated in a wonderful throne built of invaluable gems and jewels, who was being fanned by the gopas with white chauris, who was seeing and hearing with great delight and smiling countenance the dancing and singing of the gopis, who was chewing the scented betel offered by Radha and who was residing in the heart of his dearest Sri Radha, who was the perfect, all-pervading, and the Lord of the Rasa circle. The Manus, Munis, and the ascetics all bowed down to Shri Krishna no sooner they beheld him. Joy and wonder at once caught hold of their hearts. They then looked at one another and gave over to Brahma the task of communicating their feelings. The four-faced Brahma, with Vishnu on his right and Vamadeva on his left, gradually came in front of Shri Krishna. Wherever he cast his glance in the Rasamandalam, he saw Shri Krishna full of the highest bliss, of the nature of the highest bliss, sitting. All have turned out Krishnas. Their seats were all uniform. All were too armed with flutes in their hands. On everyone's neck, in the forest garland, peacock's tail was on the top of everyone's crest, and Kaustubha jewels were on all their breasts. The forms of all of them were very beautiful, very lovely, and very peaceful. No difference at all between them, whether in form or in qualities, or in ornaments or in radiance, in age, in lustre. In no respect, no one was inferior to another. No one was imperfect. No one was deficient in lordliness. It was indeed very difficult to make out who was the master and who was the servant. Sometimes he is seen in his Teja form as the great light, and there is nothing else. Sometimes there is that clear divine form. Sometimes he comes formless, sometimes with form, and again, sometimes both with and without form. Sometimes there is no Radha, there is only Krishna, and sometimes again in every seat there is the Yugal Murti Radha and Krishna combined. Sometimes Radha assumes the form of Krishna. So the creator Brahma could not make out whether Shri Krishna was a female or a male. At last he meditated on Shri Krishna in his heart lotus and began to chant hymns to him with devotion and prayed for forgiveness for his misdoings. When Shri Krishna got pleased, the creator, opening his eyes, saw Shri Krishna on the breast of Shri Radha. There were his attendants on all the sides of the gopis all around. Seeing this, Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwara bowed down to him and sang his praises. Shri Krishna, the Lord of Lakshmi, the omnipresent, cause of all, the Lord of all, and the eternal ruler of all, knew their intentions and, addressing them separately, said, O Brahman, it is all well with you. O Lord of Kamala, come here. O Mahadeva, come here. Let all be well to you. You all have come to me for Ganga. Ganga has taken refuge under my feet out of fear for Radha. Seeing Ganga by my side, Radha wanted to drink her up. However, I will give over Ganga to the hands of you all. But you will have to pray to Radha so that Ganga becomes fearless of her. The lotus-born Brahma smiled at Shri Krishna's words and began to sing hymns to Radha, who is fit to be worshipped by all. The creator Brahma, the compiler of the four Vedas, the four-faced one, praised Radha with his four heads and addressed her thus. Brahma said, O Radhe, Ganga appeared from thee, and the Lord Shri Krishna, both of you were transformed before into the liquid forms in the Rasamandalam on hearing the music of Shankara. And that liquid form is Ganga. She is born of thee and Shri Krishna, hence she is like the daughter and to be loved as such. She will be initiated in thy mantra and she will worship thee. The four-armed Lord of Vaikunta will be her husband. And when she will appear in parts on earth, the salt ocean will be her husband. O mother, the Ganga that dwells in Goloka is dwelling everywhere. O governess of the Devas, thou art her mother, and she is always thy self-born daughter. Hearing thus the words of Brahma, Radha gave her assent towards the protection of Ganga. And then Ganga appeared from the toe tip of Shri Krishna. The liquid Ganga then assumed her own form and getting up from water was received with great honor by the Devas. Bhagavan Brahma took a little of that Ganges water in his Kamandalu, and Bhagavan Mahadeva kept some of it in his own head. The lotus-born Brahma then initiated Ganga into the Radha mantra and gave her instructions. Radha Stotra, hymn of Radha, according to the Samaveda, Radha Kavacha, protection mantras, Radha Dhyana, meditation on Radha, method of worship of Radha, and Radha's Purascharana. Ganga worshipped the Radha according to those instructions and went to Vaikunta, O Muni, Lakshmi, Saraswati, Ganga, and the world-purifying Tulasi. These four became the wives of Narayana. Krishna then smiled and explained to Brahma the history of time, hardly to be comprehended by others. He then spoke, O Brahma, O Vishnu, O Maheshvara, now you better take Ganga, and I will now tell you what a change has been effected by this time. Here, you, the three Devas, the other Devas, Munis, Manus, Siddhas, and other Mahatmas that are present here are living now. For this region of Goloka is not affected by Kala time. Now the Kalpa is going to expire. So in the other regions, then Goloka and Vaikunta, the Brahmas, etc., that were existing in all other universes, have all now dissolved in my body. O lotus born, save Goloka and Vaikunta. All are now under water. The pre-state of earth, better go and create your own Brahmandas, and Ganga will go to that newly created Brahmanda. I will also create other worlds and the Brahmas thereof. Now you all better go with the Devas and do your own works respectively. You have waited here for a long interval. As many Brahmas that have fallen all appear again. Thus saying, Shri Krishna, the Lord of Radha, went to his inner chamber. The Devas also instantly retired from that spot and engaged themselves earnestly in the creation work. Ganga remained as before till then in the region of Goloka, Vaikunta, Shivaloka, Brahmaloka, and in other places by the command of Shri Krishna. She is named Vishnupadi because she appeared from the feet of Vishnu. Thus I have described to you this pleasant, essential story of Ganga leading to liberation. What more do you now want to hear? Say. Here ends the 13th chapter on the antidote of Ganga in the 9th book in the Mahapuranam Srimad Devi Bhagavatam of 18,000 verses by Maharishi Vedvyasa. Jayanti Mangalakali, Bhadrakali Kapalin Durga Kshma Shivatatri Swaswaras. Jai Tvam Devi Chamandi Jipatari Jasa. Om Mangale Mahakale Shivi Sarvata Satik Shami Trapike Gauri. Hari Om Tuya Mata Chapita Tumeva Tuya Bandusha Chasaka Tumeva Tuya Pijata Vinam. Shanti Shanti Shanti.